I really gotta take a leak though. But I don't care how ghetto shit is, dog. I never fucking litter, dog. That's the number one rule, dog. Never litter. Now, if you're like whacked out of your mind or something like that, you know, some guy shanked you or something, you got shot to death, you know, something fucking crazy is going on. That's different. You know, some shit's just out of control. But if oh wow, there it is. That's beautiful. I better put this up before I see it. Yeah. Oh, I didn't even know that. That's what's going on, dog. Oh, I didn't even know it was still in bloom. Wow. Yeah, I mean, if something's going down like really crazy and shit, you know, that's different. But if yeah. So I mean, if there's some crazy shit going down, I'm not saying it's like appropriate to litter, but if you just got shot in the face or something, it's probably, you know, okay. You know, something's really, you know, life-threatening going down. But otherwise, littering is unacceptable. Let's say that. Hey! P.S. Biatch. P.S. Gonna take a P.S. We're hanging out with the P.S. Well, that's a lot more than I thought. P.S. Taking a P.S. 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 Tonight, ooh, full moon dawn. What's that? Okay, is it flush? Alright, now. P.S. P.S. Don't tell the biatch, biatch. P.S. Well, they took away the bench over here. I don't know why. I guess it was because, people were like junkies and hobos were hanging out over here. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Not me, not just people just like drinking a beer and chilling. I'm talking about people that are fucking cracked out. Yeah. People that are fucking drug addicts and shit. Yeah. They had one guy, I guess his mom lived in the neighborhood, and then he'd be out here going, and crying or something, crying about his life or some shit. And like, I don't know, man. People don't really have sympathy. I mean, you could be Elizabeth Smart or whatever. You can cry about your life, you know. Or, I mean, people have some kind of sympathy for that, but a woman was stabbed in the face, or, you know, like, society only has so much sympathy for that shit. Yeah, only so much. And then they're like, okay, I'm done. You know, I have my maximum amount of sympathy. And so I know. If I told people, man, I got stabbed, I got shot, fucking my whole life, but it happened when I was, now, or it happened when I was 25. I mean, how many people are gonna listen to that shit the rest of their lives? They're not. Really? Okay. Elizabeth Smart is a rare occasion because she was, a beautiful girl, blonde, sexy, desirable, and uh, all that stuff. Sweet and genuine and pure, and all those things. So, I mean, if she wasn't a pretty girl, you think society would give a shit about Elizabeth Smart? Probably not. That's just the ugly truth of it. Here's the deal. Get one more moonshot. Moonshot with the spaceship coming in. That's what you want to see. Yeah. With the spaceship crossing, dog. Yeah. What you want to do is get the moon, but get the alien starship crossing the axis of the sphere. So that's what y'all need to do, dog. Yo. Ooh. Ooh. Found that. It's a really nice, ominous moon. Yeah. So we got our second brewski. But yeah, there's no guarantee that the lottery would pay off. You know, I have my particular method. Sometimes they pay off, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they pay off, sometimes they don't. But I like the idea, man. Sometimes it works, sometimes it don't. I know most people prefer stable, consistent success rates. That's true. But a lot of people don't want to acknowledge the wild area, the extreme area, the wild card area. A lot of people don't want to acknowledge the fringe area, otherwise, the unknown area. Well, that's what I really specialize in. That's the world I really love with all my heart, all my soul. Yeah. And what would you do for what you love? Would you die for what you loved? Well, I guess most of us perhaps would. I would find it hard pressed to say that I'd die for quantum physics or quantum science, but every day it gets sexier. The more I read about it, the more. Maybe that's a Wheeler thing to do. Archibald Wheeler of black holes. Maybe that's just a Wheeler thing to be into, quantum physics, and that would be so cliche if that was my family name and that Wheelers were just into physics and whoever was into geology and somebody else was into medicine. The Curies were into medicine. That would just be cliche. That would be, to me, that would just be boring, right? But I have nothing in common with William Archibald Wheeler at all, as far as I know. Who knows? He might be a 10th cousin or something, but that's besides the point. If there's one thing that my relatives make it abundantly clear, is that they say, we know you're part of our tribe, but we are not you. So even if I wanted to be, those are my relations. Most individuals, most families, most groups make it abundantly clear that, yeah, you're related to us, but you're not really us. Or they could do the other thing. They could say, we miss you. If you're not part of this tribe, you're not. Or they could play the other hand, but regardless, they will say, you're one of us, but you're not. So who are you then? And what does that mean? Yeah. You're one of us, but you're not. And how does that feel like? Well, that may be a mode of man to be lonely, because through division of biology, we're by nature separate from the source. So we're all separate from the main thing, from the main unit, from the main family. I guess the best way it was understood is Renee Aubrey Jones, the guy who played uh, Odo on Star Trek Deep Space Nine. Now, also, this is some weird trivia, but Renee Aubrey Jones from Star Trek Deep Space Nine, the actor that was in Benson and Star Trek Deep Space Nine and a lot of other things, he's actually an ancestor of Napoleon Bonaparte. A lot of people may not even know that about Renee Aubrey Jones. But thing about Renee Aubrey Jones is that his character Odo plays a character that's broken from his link, his tribe, and then he tries to be an individual. So his conflict is between being part of the link on his home planet and his individual liberty. So I found the character of Odo to be an interesting character, not because of his species and his confusion about who he is, but also, all those conflicts he has internally. And so it's brilliant. It's brilliantly done. Really. I like that. I like that character. I mean, Deep Space Nine, I know it's kind of a dark Trek. It's a very dark Star Trek. Uh, I think Star Trek Deep Space Nine is a very dark Star Trek because it mirrors our real world with a lot of, hate and conflicts and violence and all that. And a lot of torture and genocides and all these, unsettling things. And I think that those are all the things that Star Trek Deep Space Nine, with Ira Stephen Bear, the writer, tackled head on. It's a beautiful show. It really is. As much as I like the original Trek and Star Trek: The Next Generation, man, Star Trek: Deep Space Nine is the kind of like the magnum opus. I think it's Star Trek. It really is. Man, it's brilliant. No, it's I guess original Star Trek is not woke. So it's not like you're watching a story and Rob and Adam kiss and they're like, oh, we want you to accept that this is normal. No. The original liberalization of Star Trek was about different people, different societies, different cultures understanding one another and working together. That was the original one. It wasn't woke. It wasn't like, oh, you have to love trans queer. It wasn't like that at all. There were some episodes that dealt with transsexual societies and stuff like that. Unrequited love and things like that. There was a lot of, in particular, they did a Star Trek: The Next Generation episode where Riker goes down and to a society that does a lot of transsexualism, and I guess from male to female, and or I'm sorry, they have a neutral sex in their society, but they treat their society that still believes in division of sex, heterosexuality as criminals or evil that need to be purged. So he goes down there, he falls in love, and a girl starts, or alien starts to fall in love with Riker, and she thinks she's straight, and then they have a love, and then eventually she goes back to the state. The state brainwashes her to become. I guess it's like a depressing ending, like Brave New World or something. It's not very, you know. Some science fiction stories that they have very dark and depressing endings. In Planet of the Apes, um, um, this episode with Riker. So there is no. Uh, yeah, that's a really depressing one. But normally the old Trek wouldn't. I guess they did play with the idea of male and female, but it wasn't like to preach a certain lifestyle to people. So it wasn't like you have to be gay, you have to accept gayness, you have to accept lesbians, you have to accept trans queer, you have to accept minorities, you have to accept people that are different than you. Like you have to do that or you're a fucking evil person. Like it wasn't preaching like that. It was preaching. I guess the original Star Trek was preaching traditional liberalism of peace and acceptance. I think that was a really good one. Yeah, but it turned into where you turn on the Star Trek and it's like two guys sticking their tongues in each other's throats, and you're like, wait. This is not the original Star Trek that I wanted to watch. This has nothing to do with ideas. This has nothing to do with the original concept of liberalism. This is something woke. This is different. This is awful. You know. So original Star Trek was supposed to be about optimism, hope, and yeah, it did have a lot of 1960s liberalism, 1980s liberalism, and 1990s liberalism, and maybe 2000s liberalism in it as well. But liberalism today is not the same as it was back, in the 20th century. It was a lot different. It was a lot more moderate and centrist. It's a lot more mellow. It might explore some spicy themes, but it wasn't trying to throw it in people's faces all the time. So it's like big moons on the rise. I like that. Um, well, that's an interesting concept that the Enterprise lands on a world where they've outlawed heterosex and there's only transsexualism allowed. I mean, it's a great episode because it makes the viewer think about, like, what if that actually happened, right? So the greatest episodes of Star Trek make people think what would happen if this happened, and like, what if things went too far, went beyond the pale? What if AI and cyborgs took over, and what if people were enslaved by cyborgs, and what if all that shit happened? And what would we do? How would we fight against it? And that's very interesting. Not just science fiction stories, but also great stories. So it's great tales. It's great. It's great fiction. It's great. Um, I may not vote the same as Sir Patrick Stewart or Marina Sirtis or Brent Spiner or any of the liberal elite global world order clan, but understand their brilliance of the early work. If they're old and they're just senile and they're just like, fuck Trump, I don't know what to say. It's just like, what? You were never. You used to have principles. You used to care. Like you used to. Like what happened to you? Like most of the time, it was just like what? You used to care about the art. You used to care about the craft. Now you're just like fuck Trump, fuck it. It's like that's not. That doesn't like. That does not make you a legend. It does not secure your legacy. It does not make you a. I mean, it just makes you look like an idiot. I mean, honestly, all these anti-Trumpers, they just look like fools. They just look like douchebags. They don't seem like great philosophers or great thinkers or anything. They just seem like assholes. So, the goose on the gander. Yeah. Everybody hear me good?